Tate, we are live from Indianapolis in our hotel rooms. Just watched Jalen Suggs bank in the game winner to give Gonzaga the win over UCLA, advancing to the national championship. The national championship we've all had circled the entire season, but oh my God, the path it took to get there, Tate. Wow. That's all we could say. Wow.
Yeah, there was a time, right, when you and I were talking about, the greatest of all time, when we talked about this Gonzaga team, a team that was going to win every game by a 13-point, 15-point margin of victory at the end of this whole thing. And we went into this game and we said, of course, Mick Cronin, aka Muck Cronin, is going to come in this game, make it ugly. They scored 51 points against Michigan. Then they have 43 in the first half. They are basically playing the perfect game. And then we get, I mean, could you ask for a crazier? I don't even know what to say. Like, I right now, if you want to do like, if I want to do a presence, I can't even react right now because it seems bigger than Chris Jenkins. You know what I mean?
Because you're trying. Yeah, exactly. You're caught in the moment and you're like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. This is the greatest NCAA tournament game I've ever seen. That's not true. It's not the best shot in NCAA tournament history. I don't care. I don't want to hear. I don't want to take the time to like think through where does this rank on the pantheon of all-time greatest shots. It all I know is I saw it, my jaw dropped. You were speechless. I was in your room, by the way. We're in our
we're
hotel
in Indianapolis,
in Indianapolis, and Tate's down the hall, and you're just right over there. But anyway, we were watching this together, and your jaw just dropped. I guess we learned something about ourselves in this moment, because I'm the type of guy to jump off the couch and scream, oh my God, and yell and scream. And I bust out the hotel door, and there's a family that is coming back from the pool, and they're like, what the hell is going on?
Like, what's going on here?
Like March Madness, you idiot. And then you're the type that just sits there silent with your jaw dropped. And I guess we learned that about ourselves tonight.
I will say, I mean, this whole, the UCLA run throughout this entire game, it did feel like there was going to be a moment where Gonzaga clicks in, and we kind of learned that, hey, they gave their run, but it's over. And UCLA just kept fighting back. Cody Riley had an amazing game. Tiger Campbell had an amazing game. Obviously we know what Johnny Juzang is doing. He is the ultimate Kimba candidate at this point. And Mick Cronin coached a heck of a game, if you really look at it. And Gonzaga did not play a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but UCLA played a purely, maybe even perfect game, Mark Titus,
that's why,
to be able to compete.
That's why, to me, this was a perfect game for us, the fans, the neutral fans. This was not a perfect game for Gonzaga fans, who are going to have a clenched butthole up until the end of Monday night, depending on what happens either way. But because if I'm a Gonzaga fan, I'm like, I can't do this again Monday. Like, that was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever sat through in my life. But for those of us who don't really care, like you and I, who wins these games, tonight, what happened tonight is perfect. I could not be more excited for Monday night at this point, Tate, because I have believed all season that Gonzaga is a superior team to Baylor. I have believed that if Gonzaga plays well, there is no one who is even close to their in their stratosphere of how good they are. And that's not to say there aren't other really, really good teams. There aren't other great teams. Even when Baylor is firing on all cylinders, to me, Gonzaga has always been like a step or two better, because just their offense has been so unstoppable. And you just figure there's no way you could ever, if Gonzaga is hitting, the logic says no one's ever going to be able to match that. And then to see the blueprint tonight, granted, the blueprint is like make everything. So I don't know, but then on the flip side of that is Baylor kind of does do that. Baylor makes everything too. So I could not be more excited for this, because Gonzaga is susceptible. Obviously. But it's not, like you said, it's not like Gonzaga played like garbage and they're going to, flush the tape. I know that's not how it works on a 2-day turnaround, but it's not like they're just going to flush the tape and be like, we just played like crap. Let's turn it around Monday and bring our A game Monday. They brought close to their A game. Mm-hmm. They brought close to their A game, and Michigan just turned into 1985 Villanova, who, I know in 85 Villanova hit like 78% against Georgetown in the title game or something like that, like something absolutely absurd like that. It wasn't quite that, but I swear to God, it was that from the mid-range. I mean, you got Cody Riley hitting like 10 to 15 footers, multiple.
Yeah, I mean, Tiger Campbell is making everything he looks at. Johnny Juzang, if he puts a shot up, it feels like it's going to go in. And then, before today's game, you and I were talking about kind of historical precedents that have been set as far as upsets in college basketball. The one that I always think of is obviously Lorenzo Charles, an air ball that turns into a game winner. You knock off the Phi Slamma Jamma Houston team with Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler. And you got Sidney Lowe and a bunch of guys that had no business being there that win the title. And then you mentioned 85 Villanova. Again, an upset over Apache Patrick Ewing, a stalwart that we have seen in this game that goes on to be obviously one of the greatest in the Hall of Famer. This Gonzaga team does not have one of those guys, right? It does not have an Akeem Olajuwon. It does not have a Patrick Ewing, but it may have that guy with Jalen Suggs. I mean, Jalen Suggs' story has obviously been discussed ad nauseum. We know the Paige Becker's background. We know about, him being the highest rated recruit to go to Gonzaga. But this is, Michael Jordan as a freshman hit a pretty important shot in the national championship game. And that set him and his career on a trajectory, that we've never quite seen before. And Jalen Suggs, whatever kind of it factor, whatever kind of cliche you want to use, the kid has it, and he did not have his best game. But the two biggest moments in this game, bar none, were the block, quote unquote, the block on Cody Riley. Again, the replay probably showed it was a little bit more contact.
Got a lot of arm/hand.
But who cares? Jaime Jaquez gets a makeup call a little bit later, like 10 seconds later on the other end, so it works out. And Suggs, the pass that he makes, that turnaround of that game, that reaction, that momentum boosting play, and then of course the game winner, which is, look, a lot of guys, you see Juzang get that easy layup. You're a little defeated. You expect to go into double overtime. I don't think we had been in double overtime since NC State. And the fact that he had the presence of mind to pull that shot, to take that shot as a freshman in this program, and the fact that it went down. I mean, look, Drew Timmy's charge was huge, but that shot, that is how you win a basketball game, Mark Titus. I even said to you, the Duke way of winning this game is taking a charge to go to overtime, and then Drew Timme just kind of wears you down and wins. It's a Christian Laettner kind of way to win a game. But like Suggs right now, he just did something for me that I'm fired up for Monday. We got the two best teams in the country. You and I, at the beginning of the year, we knew it was two teams. We got a little sidetracked with the Big Ten war that was going on, all those battles with those great teams. But we really have two exceptional teams. I'll say there's some great teams in the Big Ten, but these are exceptional teams that we'll remember for a long time. Baylor did what they had to do. They beat an inferior opponent, a fraud, as you would call them. They handled them handily. And then UCLA, one, shows that they belong in the Final Four, and two, gives us a game that I think that we'll be referencing for quite some time, Titus. I mean, that was an unbelievable basketball game.
This was... it's recency bias. I'm stuck in the moment. I don't care. It's been 2 years. Like, we didn't have a tournament last year. This is the first night of Final Four action we've had in 2 years, Tate. And I understand that 2 years ago, the Final Four games were pretty awesome. As a reminder, Kyle Guy's free throws 2 years ago to beat Auburn. That was,
I mean, even the Diakite shot in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, but I mean the final. I was just giving a reference point of 2 years ago. So this might not even have been the best Final Four game of the last 2 years, is my point. But I'm ready to call it the greatest game I've ever seen of any sport ever, because I'm just like that was the feeling. That was as UCLA was making just insane shot after insane shot. And we have to acknowledge that I'm not going to use the word luck, because we thought they had to muck it up to win.
No,
that's what
but they bucked it up. They bucked it up.
They start hitting shots early, and I was like, oh, they're going to luck it up. That's how they're going to do it. They're just going to hit these tough shots with hands in their face, mid-range, 12-footers, 17-footers.
Yep.
Like those aren't good shots. They're going to start missing at some point, and Gonzaga is going to blow them away, because that's Gonzaga's MO. That's what Gonzaga has done all year. Like the idea of a team trying to match Gonzaga shot for shot is a death trap. It's like it's insane. So like Gonzaga throughout the first half, as UCLA is hitting all these shots, I imagine Mark Few is talking to his team and he's saying, we got them right where we want them.
Yeah,
I don't care that they're up
it's
3
okay,
or
guys.
5.
We're playing good. We're playing solid.
At some point, they're going to start missing. We're not, because we never miss, because we have one of the greatest offenses in college basketball history. And there's no way they're going to be able to match us. And they just kept matching them. And over and over and over, every guy on UCLA, it wasn't just Juzang. I think that's the simplistic approach to talking about UCLA would be Johnny Juzang, because that's what it's been basically the entire run, is Johnny Juzang's carried them. And certainly against Michigan, he has 28 of their 51 points. And he had 27 tonight, I think. Or did he have 29? Or did the layup give him 29? And I think
the layup gave him 29. Yeah.
So he had 20. Like, again, he had an awesome game, but he was not alone. This was not a one-man effort. Tiger Campbell was hitting crazy shots. Jaquez was hitting, like, you can't say enough about UCLA, to the point that, like, as UCLA was keeping it close in the first half, to me, the story coming out of the game, if it stayed close the whole game, was going to be Gonzaga's not choke, but like Gonzaga's not playing well. Gonzaga, it would have centered around Gonzaga, and like, what did Gonzaga do wrong to put themselves in this position to either lose or have to, win on a banked in 30-footer at the buzzer. But in the end, I think the story of the game is UCLA. I think it's still Gonzaga because they're undefeated, I guess, and they're still that part of it. It doesn't have to be a black or white situation. But my God, I come away from this like Jalen Suggs hits as a shot. That's what I want to talk about. But I also want to talk like mostly about UCLA and how well they played, because this was incredible. This was a game for the ages. As you said, I will remember this forever. I am confident in that. I know recency bias. I don't know if this is the greatest game I've ever seen, but I am confident that I will remember this game for the rest of my life. And that's crazy to have that feeling because I don't know. The last time I felt this, coincidentally, was 6 years ago, 2015. Kentucky was undefeated in the exact same spot, in the exact same arena. They lose to Wisconsin, and I was there for the game, and I just remembered like looking around. I was sitting behind the Wisconsin student section, and I'm watching all of them go nuts and throw their drinks in the air that they smuggled in, and like they're just all going crazy. And I'm just sitting there with my jaw open, like I can't believe, like I will remember this for the rest of my life. And you have those moments that right then and there, you're like, oh my God, this is literally something I will remember forever. And that's what this was for me. The moment that shot goes in, I was like, I will remember this forever. And that's crazy. That's why I love this sport.
Yeah, it is the best sport in the entire world. If you love the game of basketball, how could you not love this? And you mentioned the other guys. I have to say this. We learned in the Elite Eight that Drew Timme is a power forward. He just won the Karl Malone Award for the best power forward in the country. Mm-hmm. Congratulations to him. He is Christian Laettner 2.0. In fact, someone just hit me up and said he is the Mickey Mouse Christian Laettner. So I'll say that. And, in this game, Cody Riley showed kind of what you needed to have against Drew Timme, which is not a traditional 5, which is an Evan Mobley type. It is a guy like Cody Riley, who is basically a small ball 5. He's a 6'7", 6'8" guy, but he's got a low center of gravity. He's got a nice build. He goes for 14 and 10 in this game. Like you said, he was able to step out to 17 feet, knock down some of those mid-range jumpers, give Timme some trouble, get Timme in foul trouble. And then on the flip side of that, I have to give Timme his credit, because Timme in this game just had some big time moments where you kind of were like, what's going to happen here? Is Gonzaga struggling? And he made sure in overtime to kind of send that message that we're not going to go down here. And then when Johnny Juzang is coming down for what feels like, right, as your heart is sinking, you feel like Juzang is waiting for the final shot, the final nail in the coffin. And for him to step up there and to take that charge, as much as I joke about him being a Duke player, that was a big time play, and it was a charge. Officially,
it was a charge. I gotta say that, because I am as anti-charge as anybody is there. I do not believe
he was there.
But first of all, he was there. Secondly, he had his hands up, which I don't hate. The charges that I hate are the guys that are covering their balls, because at that point you're basically saying I'm
not playing defense.
I can't play any defense. So Timme at least had the he has his hands up, so you can argue that like he was still trying to stop Juzang, and Juzang just bowled him over. But also he was very clearly there, and I think that was the right call, as much as it sucks, because no one, like when you're in that moment, you have an underdog, which by the way, how funny is it that the program with 11 national titles in the city of Los Angeles, one of the most storied programs in college basketball history, was an underdog, a scrappy team that we were all rooting for against this tiny ass school in Eastern Washington that's never won a national title before. And we were all crossing our fingers like, come on, I hope they can do it. Those plucky underdogs from UCLA.
Yeah, I saw someone put up the graphic of the 11 seed, and then a UCLA fan tagged it and said, the 11 stands for titles. And and I like that. And I wanted to point out, when I was talking about guys that you mentioned, we don't want to talk about the Johnny Juzangs and the Jalen Suggs. I mean, obviously we do, but those aren't just the focal points of this game. Joel Ayayi, this guy kind of set the tone. He's the
only one that played well from start to finish for Gonzaga, really.
He was the steady hand the entire time. He was the guy that Kispert, Timme, Nembhard, even Suggs, as Suggs was struggling in the first half, they were looking to him to kind of carry. And he had a calming presence for them throughout the entire game. And then I think as he got them to quote unquote winning time, the guys you expect to step up, Corey hit a big 3 there late. I mentioned Timme obviously stepping up. Nembhard also
with
hit
the
a
step
huge
back,
3.
The step back
to
what did that push it to 5 or something?
Yeah, I think it pushed it to 5. And then Jaquez hit a 3 to cut it back to 2 again on the other end. It was a back and forth affair. In fact, as I'm trying to piece it together in my mind, it's hard to keep up with. And to be honest with you, I don't like to bring up this game because it's close to me and it breaks my heart, but it was the closest thing I've seen. And obviously it was a national championship game, but it was the closest turnaround as far as emotions.
Right.
To Marcus Page and Chris Jenkins, Marcus Page hits the double clutch 3. as a Carolina fan, you're celebrating, you're having this great moment in time. You're like, let's go. We're going to overtime. And just like in this game, you're thinking 3.3 ticking down. We're going to double overtime. We're going to see what happens here. And then Jalen Suggs just kind of takes the air out of the building if you're a UCLA fan. And if you're a Gonzaga fan, he literally saves the day, and he is Superman. And his reaction, his celebration, the confidence, again, the belief in yourself to want to have that moment as a true freshman, man, I can't say enough about him having the stones to do that. And I can't say enough about Gonzaga to be able to persevere, because you know how tight that butthole had to be, Titus.
Oh,
I mean,
my goodness.
As you're thinking about history on the line, as you're thinking about the fact, like you said, 2015 Kentucky has been in the exact same building, in the exact same spot against, an inferior team that is playing at an absolute tear. You know what I mean?
But at least that team, that team at instance,
yeah.
Well, I mean, they were a 1 seed. Wisconsin was a team that went to the Final Four the year before. They were familiar with them. There was there was no shame in the sense of, like, on paper, that Kentucky team losing to Wisconsin. There should not be shame in that.
I guess UCLA, the way they played tonight, they have basically been able to wipe all the UCLA basketball I had seen before, because like I left this game, like that was the sort of.
That's what I'm saying is that the Kentucky situation was they lose to a 1 seed with the National Player of the Year and another guy who was a first-round draft pick on the team.
Yep.
Like. That is its own thing. What felt different about this was by the way, Juzang might be
Juzang's a lottery.
Juzang's a lottery. Like he said, if he plays like that, take the guy in the lottery. But the feeling, if you watch UCLA all year, was that they got an 11 seed for a reason. Tate. They lost their last 4 games going into the NCAA tournament, and I think that factor played into this of like this is a game that Gonzaga cannot lose. And in a weird way, I feel like they'll be looser against Baylor in the title game than they would have been tonight, because there's more on the line, obviously, against Baylor, but it's a team that, like, you there's no shame in losing. It's not a must win in the way like this is a must win for, like, it goes beyond like that one game or that one trophy on the line. This is like the entire arc of the program. Like if Gonzaga loses this tonight, the last 20 years are for naught. It feels like, like everything just goes down the drain, and you're up against an 11 seed that can't miss. And you keep looking up at the clock and it says there's 12 minutes left. And you're like, they're going to start missing. Now there's 9 minutes left. And you're like, they're going to start missing. There's 4 minutes left. They're going to start. And you're like, my God, are they ever going to start missing? And the answer was no. And, there's something real about that, like being in the single elimination situation of the NCAA tournament, where like if this game does take place in the regular season, maybe it goes. First of all, maybe UCLA is not hitting everything. Maybe there's like some sort of looseness with UCLA. They're like, we have nothing to lose, literally nothing to lose. We should have lost our play-in game against Michigan State and Mackey Arena, in the first 4. Like this whole run has been, we're playing with house money, so screw it, let's just go out there and let it rip. And meanwhile, the opposite is true with Gonzaga, where you're looking up and you're like, what the hell is happening? And you just kind of feel, I don't know. We weren't in the building tonight. We had to do the 3-on-3 thing, and we didn't have time to get tickets and deal with all that. We were pretty tired anyway. And we just figured,
we've been working 12-hour basketball days.
We'll watch it on TV and go to the title game. So I can't report what the vibe was like, but I imagine, going enough NCAA tournaments and going to enough like massive games and thinking back on the 2015 Wisconsin Kentucky game, there are moments where like the whole building, you feel it. And I know there weren't a ton of fans in there, but like, I'm sure there's a palpable, as John Rothstein would say, a palpable buzz. There is a feeling in the air. There is a sense of like, this was going to be a heavyweight fight that was supposed to go 2 rounds, and it's round 12. And the guy that was supposed to get knocked out is like still fighting. And in fact, he doesn't even really have a cut on his face. And everyone in the arena is just like, what the hell is going on? And all the neutral fans that thought they were cheering for Gonzaga Baylor because they wanted to see the real fight that we've all been waiting to see all season, suddenly they're like, wait a second, I think I might actually want UCLA to win. Like, this is kind of cool that they're hitting everything. Like, this is awesome. And you're caught in that weird moment of like, I don't even know what I'm cheering for. I'm just cheering for a great game. And then it delivers. And boy, I love this sport, man. This is so good.
It's the best. Good. It's the best. And you and I, we have lots of conversations off air and on air about college basketball and what it looks like, and the future and the past and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And you try to pinpoint moments. You try to give your take. You try to figure out what it could look like, what it should look like. And when you watch a game like that, it does give you just that sense of like, yes, this is it. This is what we play the game for. This is why we love.
This is what it's all about. This is why do we watch games in January against two unranked teams on a random Tuesday night, and they can't hit a broadside of a barn, and you're like, who would ever want to watch that? The reason is it's a small investment. It's like it's the offering plate being passed around, and every time the offering plate comes on that Tuesday night in January, you and I are throwing a little emotional investment, and on all these little teams that we're just watching along the way. And that thing just starts to grow. And then you bring it to the Final Four, and suddenly we have a UCLA team that you and I, living in LA, we've gone to God knows how many games at Pauley. We've gone to the CBS Sports Classic, where
Maui Invitational,
the Maui Invitational. We've seen this team in person a million times. We've talked about all these guys a million times.
We know these guys, and
we've talked about Mick Cronin a million times. We've waited for this team to like kind of coalesce into what we thought they could be. And then Chris Smith tears his ACL, and we're like, well, I guess it's not going to be this year like maybe we thought it would. But then they're like, now hang on a second, maybe it will be. And just that whole roller coaster with UCLA, and the same with Gonzaga, that we've both been following Gonzaga our whole life, the last 20 years or whatever. And to have it all just come to the moment, like you can't, that's what makes it, that game is awesome in a vacuum, but it's all the context. It is the Adam Morrison game in 2006. It is just everything that goes into it. And it all comes to a head in April in Indianapolis with a banked in shot from Jalen Suggs as the buzzer. And it's like, it does not get any better than this.
Yeah, and it's, like you said, it is poetic. And you and I, and one of my things in the NCAA tournament, it is like kind of a pecking order, and you kind of climb the rungs of the ladder over time. Scott Drew gets in his first Final Four. He gets, Mark Few did the same thing in 2017, and then he also gets to the title game, but they come up a little bit short. This time around, it does feel like the tide is turned so that they're going to get over the hump. And then you bring up Adam Morrison. You know who they lost to? We obviously do. It's UCLA. And the fact that you're able to have a moment in time where you get over the hump against the team that has basically owned you in the tournament, it brings me back to Villanova 2016. North Carolina beat Villanova in 2005. North Carolina beat Villanova in 2009. And then Villanova comes to the title game in 2016. And before that game, I'm like, this is perfect. It's Michigan State all over again, a team that you own. It's going to be easy money. And guess what happens? They get over that hump, they climb to the next rung, and they become national champions. And the fact that UCLA got in this fight says a lot about their program, and it says a lot about who they're going to be moving forward. And it, to me, says a lot about the character of this group, because if you did not enjoy watching these guys fight for every single loose ball, for every single rebound, for guys like Tiger Campbell to kind of play outside of themselves a little bit and do whatever it takes to try to go for this win, that was impressive. But also to have Jalen Suggs kind of get the final monkey off your back against a blue blood program,
versus new blood. Yep.
This is it, Titus. And to hit that shot, to have it be signified in such a way. One, I just want to say congratulations to the Gonzaga fans, because I know that it must be one of those it's got to be frustrating, right? You're such a top flight program, yet you have the stigma of you're going to lose. You're going to choke in March. You don't play anybody. You're in a Mickey Mouse conference, all these things. And in general, that's ridiculous. You and I joke about these things, but when you're in a moment and you're playing a program like UCLA that has 11 national titles, that has the history that they have, and you're the overdog, I don't know if that's a term, but I'm going to say it. You're the overdog. You're supposed to win this.
I think the favorite. I think the word would be favorite.
No, I'm going to say overdog. The Bulldogs. And the fact that you are able to hold, and the fact that you're able to excel, and the fact that you're able to do it, kudos to Mark Few. I'm sure he is the picture of Dean Smith in 1982 when he's like smoking the cigarette and they like blurted out. That might be Mark Few tonight. He might be taking a cigarette drag and saying to himself, whew, man, that was something. That is a game that I will be telling my grandkids about. I'm so glad that we came out of this a winner. Fellas, I love you more than I even knew I loved you. Jalen, come here. Give me a hug, buddy. You're the best. You're the number one pick in my heart. Let's go win one more. Right. Let's prove that we are a blue blood. We are a new blood, but let's prove that we're actually a blue blood by getting this national championship, by showing and signifying that we got to that next rung on the ladder. And, man, I mean, I remember watching Josh Heupel dominate Tyler Hansbrough in Madison Square Garden in 2007. And you know what I said to myself? Get the mid-major out of my face. You know what I mean? Get Jeremy Pargo out of my face. And the fact that we're here in 2021, and Mark Few is such a great guy, such a great coach. To to see this kind of
work.
What you're
doing. I see what you're doing, by the way. Mark Few is such a we could deal with that later.
Mark Few is a great coach, and there's tons of places to fly fish in North Carolina, Mark. But that's beside the point. I will say Gonzaga, all I want to say is Gonzaga fans, I'm happy for you. And I know how hard it is to have to fight these battles, on the front and have these people come at you and come at your program and come at your players and yada, yada, yada. But you deserve this moment in time. And I know you're going to play the most anticipated game since the 05 title game. The first time we've had the 2 top overall seeds beating the title game.
I think this is more. Can I stop you there? I throw out 2005. This is more anticipated than 2005. I think this is more anticipated than 2005. I think 2005 is just the marker in time that we haven't really stopped to compare the two. We just know that like 2005 was the last one that was like super anticipated.
Of course, we don't have. I mean, I just said that for the statistical.
No, I'm not saying
we don't have an undefeated team.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying this has been the narrative all season. We've talked about like even when we're doing our tier talk with Andy Katz, it's always been like we've mentioned 2005. God knows how many times on the show.
Yeah, so many times. That's why I thought Illinois was going to win it all.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying I don't think we've really stopped to like flesh this out. I think this is more anticipated in 2005. I think it is because they were supposed to play in Indianapolis. They didn't. They've been 1-2. Gonzaga has been won literally the entire season, has not lost. There's an undefeated season on the line now on Monday night. Baylor obviously has been 2 for most of the season. Their hiccup, even the hiccups that they had, you can kind of blame on COVID. And I don't even know if it's kind of. I mean, it's the problems that they had were post COVID, and it seems like they've figured those out. So like, I don't know, maybe there's a world where Baylor doesn't have to take a COVID pause. They're also undefeated. We don't even have to play in the what ifs though, because they are who they are, and who they are is a very, very good basketball team that we've seen all year. And we've had circled as one of the top 2 teams in the country. I think this is more anticipated in 2005, and especially after tonight, because we got exactly what we needed, Tate. What we needed. We needed Gonzaga to look susceptible for guys like me who have believed heavily in them to say, oh, okay. And we needed Baylor to look awesome. That's exactly what happened. Now, if Gonzaga was going to play Baylor tonight, I would have been pretty confident Gonzaga was going to win. I would have been pretty confident. Now, after what I witnessed tonight, I don't know where I'd land. And that's all I've ever wanted was like, I needed a reason to believe that Gonzaga could lose even if they play well. And oh my God, I got it tonight. I could not be more excited for Monday.
When we came into the day, you and I looked at each other, best case scenario. And this tournament, you and I have called a Mickey Mouse tournament as a meme the entire time, because every time we say what we want to happen, the literal opposite usually happens. Yes. So we come in today, we say, we need Baylor for the best case title scenario. This is not about fandom. This is about best case title scenarios. That's what you and I care about. We came in and we said, we need Baylor probably to blow out Houston to get us like fired up about the idea that Baylor has a real shot against Gonzaga. And we need UCLA to keep it within 10 was pretty much what you and I had said to each other. And the fact that UCLA takes them to overtime, the fact that they had chances to win this game down the stretch. Yep. And on the flip side, I have to say this because as I was making my Gonzaga point, I got too lost in all the historical stuff with Gonzaga. But I want to say this team has not played a close game all year. And the fact that they were in a close game, the fact that they were able to respond, the fact that they never panicked, the fact that Mark Few obviously has coached these guys situationally to know how to handle these moments without having them actually play in these moments. One, says a lot about preparation of this team, and 2, says a lot about preparation and mentality of these players themselves. Because I'm not going to lie to you, Titus, if I'm undefeated in Indiana with all of the history behind me in Bob Knight State, thinking about the 1976 Hoosiers and seeing a team like UCLA with John Wooden and
John Wooden statues all around you. As you're driving into Lucas Oil, you're driving downtown, you see the John Wooden statues.
I'm freaking out. I'm getting tight, and I'm concerned. And give Corey Kispert, give True Timmy, give Ayayi, give Suggs, Nimhard, all those guys credit because they never faltered. They never wavered. They continued to fight despite all the things going against them. And also kudos to the coaching staff because that is coaching. That is getting players prepared to be in a fight. And, I don't think Gonzaga went in this game thinking it's going to be an easy game. As much as everyone in America is like, it's going to be a 10, 15 point blowout. Me too. What do you like? I raised my hand. Of course, it was a 14 point spread. Vegas thought that.
I said on part of my take, and I quote, "No chance."
Hey, well,
no
you're right.
UCLA wins. Which, by the way, I was right. They did not win. I knew. I crunched all the numbers. This was the this was one of the situations I saw. This was
But
one
give
of the,
kudos to Gonzaga, because as
Yeah.
we move to Monday, I'm hoping that we get another tight game, another close game. And I know Baylor can execute in those moments. Obviously, they've had some games this season where we've had to see that. Gonzaga, we hadn't had that. And now we do have actual tape on them being able to handle it. And I mean, I think it makes Monday even more anticipated. I think it makes it even more fascinating. And I just want to see what the line is, Titus. Not that I really care about betting lines, but it's more just to see what they think.
what the
Gonzaga,
vibe.
yeah.
Not the
what,
line.
What
the
did this
vibe.
game do to Vegas and their expectations and their view of Gonzaga? Because for me, I think going into it, if they win this game by 12, 15 points, you're looking at like a 7.5 point line or something like that. But now we're looking closer like 2.5, 3.5, hell, even 1.5. Who knows? And I like it.
That's what I'm curious as well. I don't care about the line for gambling purposes. I care about it as a vibe, as I said.
Yes.
Like, I just want to know, what is America vibing right now? What are we thinking?
What are the experts saying?
I don't know what I think anymore. And that's a good spot to be in. Usually I don't like that, but when it comes to this matchup, I like that a lot. I like that I have no idea what the hell I'm thinking. We've spent a lot of time praising UCLA. Certainly, I want to do it some more. Johnny Juzang, I feel like that's the last we saw of him in college basketball. I feel like it has to be, right. Like I don't know why this guy would come back. What a treat he's been to watch. We watched him closely at Kentucky because he was a local kid coming out of LA, and like we kind of knew him indirectly. Like he was put on our radar. Like when he goes to Kentucky, I remember watching him being like, yeah, that's the kid that went to Harvard Westlake, and it didn't obviously pan out super well. And I was like, man, I would like to see him be better. And then he transferred back home, and oh my God, has he been better? And what a joy that was. That is an NCAA tournament run I will never forget. And to have you keep talking about presence of mind. Jalen Suggs had the presence of mind to know how much time was left to get the shot off, to not chuck a shot from like beyond half court, to know, I can get a couple more dribbles in. Johnny Juzang had the presence of mind down two. I was certain he was jacking the three there at the end of overtime. I was certain he was going for the win, going for the dagger. He saw in his eyes that I'm going to be the hero that's going to jump on the scorer's table after I hit this. And Kispert was guarding him and knew that's probably what he was thinking. And so he's like, I'm not giving up a three. And Juzang had the presence of mind, like, if I hit a two, we're going to overtime, and I'll just keep hitting more shots and we'll win. So I don't know. I thought that was really mature and level-headed for him to take it to the basket. He misses a shot, gets the rebound, calmly puts it up. We see so much, like we saw in the Michigan game, for God's sakes, like Michigan, UCLA. How many of those like shots down the stretch for Michigan were they tight because they were like, how much time their clock sped up and they were freaking out. And Juzang was as cool as could be the entire game, and especially there at the end in overtime. And I know he the charge at the end of regulation was a bummer, but he was trying to make a play, and it is what it is. And you can't fault a guy for like being aggressive in those situations. So I don't know. Absolute treat. Mick Cronin is I could not be more excited to go watch UCLA next season. They're going to bring a lot of these guys back. They're going to be awesome. There's real momentum, real excitement around the program, and in ways that certainly I've never been around since I've been going to LA every so often for work and stuff. So I can't wait to see that city buzzing. I can't wait to see Paulie excited again.
I mean, just think about where we were, Titus, a few years ago when we could just walk into Paulie and no one's there really. And, it's kind of like this downtrodden Steve Alford era where everyone's like, look, we get it. We're not going to be Indiana, but God,
who, by the way, full circle, who was the final nail in the coffin for Steve Alford? You might forget this. He lost at home to the Belmont Bruins, Tate. Oh. Are you aware of that?
That was after in Chicago. We saw him in Chicago, right? And then he went home and lost to Belmont.
And then he lost to Belmont. Everyone was like, "We got to fire this guy." And my dad was just like,
"He's like again, Belmont, best team in the country."
He watched an Indiana guy lose to Belmont. He was like, "I'm done with IU. Give me Belmont." Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I just want to say you mentioned Johnny Juzang. This is one of those we joke about a Kimba candidate, not joke, but we label Kimba candidates every single year.
Not a joke at all. Honestly.
It's not a joke. I mean, there might be a new term, a Juzang candidate, because he is everything that you need in the tournament. He's also a guy that I told you today. I heard him do an interview talking about Mick Cronin. He's like, I want to be coached. That's why I came here, because I want Mick Cronin to tell me why I'm not good, and I want to get better, and I love to compete, and I want to win every single game. And if you watch Johnny Juzang in this game, the man competes and he competes and he doesn't stop. And like you said, the fact that he took that shot, goes for two, gets his own rebound, follows his shot, gets the putback layup. I mean, everything that you could ask for from that end of the floor from them. And just the fact that Suggs obviously hits the shot, wins the game. There's nothing to be said that's negative about UCLA. I think that's the best part of this. There was no like
hang the banner, dude. I'm bringing a banner to Pauly for home opener.
Yeah,
we're going to the Pavilion Club. We're throwing back our $12 beers in the Pavilion Club.
Let's do it.
Rubbing elbows with Baron Davis and Kerry Champion, and I'm bringing a banner to Pauly that says we took Gonzaga to overtime in the Final Four and probably should have won. In parentheses, and honestly, we're hanging that up with the 11 national titles.
and we know the Final Four banner should go up. Honestly, like I know that UCLA's whole thing is we only hang national title banners. I think this is the time where you put up a Final Four banner and you're proud of it because.
Put up a banner that says Johnny Juzang went here.
Yeah, literally.
Put that up. Put that up as well.
I think Johnny Juzang is like literally Devin Booker 2.0. That is who he reminds me of. I can't get it out of my mind. I can't get it out of my head. Every time I see him, on the court, I'm like, man, this guy gives me major Devin Booker vibes. And if you're an NBA GM, not that I even care about the NBA as I talk about college basketball right now, but I would say that kid is no doubt a for sure lottery pick. And, like you mentioned before, I mean, we're getting into top 5 territory because Devin Booker went 14th and that was a mistake, or 13th, whatever it was. That was a total mistake. So I can see Juzang shooting up draft boards. I'm happy and proud of him. I think he represents, a lot of good in college basketball.
His brother came to see him, by the way, like kind of the story of the week.
What a story. Yeah. And then 10 years after Kimba, as Ryan points out here on our screen, Johnny Juzang is able to do the best thing we've seen, as far as cardiac Kimba. And man, I will say this, like Johnny Juzang was a name I thought I would forget in my life pretty easily. Like you said, when he was at Harvard Westlake, he goes to Kentucky, he kind of gets shelved at Kentucky, as Calipari likes to do to 5 stars. That's the Kentucky way. Come here and we don't play you. And Johnny Juzang goes back home to Los Angeles and then brings them what they've been looking for. UCLA has needed some sort of just reinvigoration, right? Like just that feeling of like, this is what UCLA basketball looks like at the highest level. And the fact that Mick Cronin is able to get that in his second year and get it with a guy like Johnny Juzang, who is such a lovable character. My mom's texted me. She loves Johnny Juzang. There's nothing better than that from a brand play. And
great name, by the way, Johnny Juzang. I think that's part of it. Like the look works. The hair looks awesome.
I already see the campaign. Awesome. I see the campaign. You rang for Juzang. That's it.
Oh man. Let's talk about the other game briefly, because what a stinker this was. Yeah. We don't really have to. I just want to basically talk about Charles Barkley at halftime, talking about Jimmys and Joes. And
please.
Who's got Jimmys and does UCLA have Jims and Joes? Do they have both? Do they have just Jim? They have Johnny's. Yeah, they have Johnny's. So Gonzaga and Baylor have Jims and Joes.
Yep.
UCLA, what was that? That was amazing.
Charles. That was the highlight of that game, to be honest with you. It was either the Miley Cyrus halftime show or in between show, or it was Charles Barkley trying to explain why Gonzaga and Baylor were different than Houston and UCLA by using Jimmys and Joes or Jims and Joes or Johnny's and Joes. It made no sense. At one point, you and I were chatting after the fact. We're like, we've been there before. You're trying to make a point on air. You kind of get
it happens all the time.
It happens all the time. I'm sure you're listening right now and you're like, you guys are literally doing this.
Stay tuned. We're live, folks. So it could very well happen tonight. I could start making a point and be like, I have no idea what the hell I'm saying right now.
Exactly. It's the Michael Scott. I start talking. I don't know where the sentence is going to end. But, Charles Barkley is hilarious and the best. And that's why I love him for moments like this. And it honestly did make a little bit of sense because you kind of know what he's saying at some level, but you also don't know what he's saying, which is it's provocative. It gets the people going. That's what we want from Charles. That's what we need from Charles. And on the flip side, Baylor got me going because they did what we needed them to do, and that's blow out
Davion Mitchell is the best player on Baylor. I mean, like that's what we're learning in this NCAA tournament run, is that the first team All-Americans on Gonzaga and Baylor are not the best players on their team, as it turns out, because Drew Timme and Davion Mitchell are playing out of their minds in this tournament. And not to say that like Baylor needed Davion Mitchell to be awesome tonight. I think he could have laid a stinker and they still probably would have won, given how poorly Houston played. But I don't know, man. I'm so excited for that game on Monday night because I really have no idea what's going to happen, and that's where you want to be. That's it. I couldn't be more excited for this. We should say goodbye to Houston. I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about UCLA and the great run they went on. Houston, many people are calling it the most Mickey Mouse run of all time in the NCAA tournament to the Final Four. I was not one of those people. I respectfully called Houston a fraud all season.
Yes.
It was very
Yes.
respectful. I think a lot of people are losing that. They remember that I called them frauds. They do not
They're
remember
forgetting the first part. Yes.
Yes,
The respectful
respectfully,
part.
with all due
Yes.
respect, no disrespect to Houston. Nothing personal. But I have felt that they've been frauds all year, and I've based that upon the fact that they muck it up. They have no real playmakers outside of Quentin Grimes, who was MIA the entire first half of this game. And they have played a non-existent schedule. Like, I think the point I made was that Houston was what people thought Gonzaga was, which is that they play a bunch of nobodies, rack up wins, and then they muck it up and steal wins here and there and whatever, and they're actually like not that good and they're going to get exposed. I just felt like that was what Houston was destined to. I honestly, like, I have no shame if in this game if I'm a Houston fan, is my indirect way of getting around. Like, I don't think Houston was as good as everyone else did. So to me, one, this was no surprise, but two, I also, if I was Houston, I wouldn't be like, what the hell happened to us tonight? Because I could tell you what happened. What happened was exactly what I thought would happen. I didn't think Houston was very good this year. So I mean, like, I'll walk that back. Of course, they were kind of good. I didn't think Houston was national title good. I didn't think there was any world in which Houston was beating Baylor and then winning the national title game as well. So, if I'm a Houston fan, I'm like, what else could I have expected here?
If I'm a Houston fan, the big takeaway here, and look, there are two Jordan Brand schools that are in the Final Four here, and both of them lost tonight, and that's UCLA and Houston. And at the end of the day, all you have to do is make brand plays, and the brand play is to hang the banner. So if you're the Houston Cougars, this is the first time that you've been in the Final Four since 1984. Now you've gotten the idea that you were singularly one run in history with, Akeem and Clyde and those guys and Phi Slamma Jamma. Now you got a second, story to tell, so to speak. You hang the banner. Nobody's going to remember this game as a quote unquote blowout because all they're going to remember is the UCLA game from tonight. So you're okay there. Yeah. And if you're Houston, I'm just going to be frank about this. What did you really expect? You haven't played the competition that is going to make it to a Final Four traditionally. Your best game, as you pointed out multiple times, was a neutral game against Texas Tech in November. You played all double-digit seeds to get to the Final Four, so you've had no game to really get you prepped for the level of team that you're going to see. And then that team is basically the better version of you. And they recruit in your state and they out-recruit you in your state. So, it's kind of one of those things like, what do you expect at the end of the day if you're a Houston fan? And if anything, you expect hopefully a competitive game where you're able to kind of hang around. But from the start, Baylor, they had a message to send to the Houston Cougars tonight. And it was basically, we are by far the better team in Texas. And we are going to go to the national title game. And we're going to try to show the world that we're the best team in the country. That was the news of the night. It was that, one, Baylor's not messing around. They know what they're here for. They're here for Monday night showdown against Gonzaga. And Gonzaga, they had to get their first test of the season, and they needed it, frankly, I think, before they go to Monday night. Like, that was nice for them. Obviously, probably not as desperate as it ended up being, but I think both teams got what they needed before we get to Monday night, and I think that's awesome.
How mad do you think Jim Nance was? Do you think he was? How much do you think he was doing? I'm definitely not mad at all that this is the first time I've ever called a Final Four game with my alma mater here, and we're just getting run off the floor because he didn't really show it that much.
Yeah,
but I also wonder if he was putting on a facade, or do you think he just doesn't care at all?
I think that's the sad part. I think he just doesn't really care. I had hoped that would be his feeling, where he's kind of like, oh man, these are my guys. But maybe not that he doesn't care. That's probably too far. I would say maybe he knew, or kind of had an expectation
he
that
probably listens to our show and he hears me calling them frauds. And he was
you're right. I mean, look, I will say this: Michael Lombardi, my old co-host, friend of the program, loves you and I. Used to be neighbors with Jim Nance. So there's a chance that Jim Nance may know what we're talking about on this show. Just saying that. I
just love the idea of Lombardi and Nance.
Just talking about our show.
About the team. They're like, yeah. So I thought Tate had a lot of great points talking about Roy's impact on Carolina. I thought that was really good.
I mean, there's always a chance.
Jim swirling his wine. I like to think of Jim Nance as having a glass of wine when he golfs. Like everyone else is crushing beers and he's got like a glass of wine in his.
Do you know the Jim Nance story, like of what he has at his house? So he has a house on Pebble Beach, and he built he replicated the seventh hole at his house.
Yeah, I knew that.
When you go to his house, you like hit you basically hit the shot, and then there's a list where closest to the pin. I was supposed to go do that at one time. It never happened, but I will say this: Jim Nance probably loves Houston, but he also smart enough to know what was coming. So I think he just enjoyed himself. A fan asked us, what would be our Jim Nance tie? Got me thinking. I don't know what it would be, but we got to figure that out in the future at some point.
Some
so
sort
keep
of
that in the
duffel
back
bag.
of your mind.
It's a bag full of cash. I mean, that's what we would
People
do.
pointed out like maybe your Converse laces. Someone said one of my shoes.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would give you one of my shoes. If I'm going to give you one, I'll probably just give you the other one, or not at all. But regardless, we'll figure out what that looks like. I was happy that Jim Nantz got to have the call. That's a special moment, but he knew we knew it was
mine
over.
would. Yeah, I like that. Like I unlace my chucks and I hand my leg.
I like that too.
Should we do this for real? Like next year when the final
it's hilarious.
happens?
Could you imagine being Jalen Suggs and we're at the game and we walk down and you give him your shoelace?
I promise you this. If I remember, it's been a long time. It's going to be a long time from now. It's going to be a year from now. So I'll probably definitely forget. But right now, I'll commit to this, that when we go to the next year's Final Four / national championship, Tate, I will, after the game's over, I will do something Nance-ish. And we'll get it on camera. You film me and I'll walk up to whoever, like, if this was the title game tonight, it would be Jalen Suggs. And I would unlace my chuck and hand him one of my laces. If you promise to ask the winning coach if he has a message for the haters in the post-game press conference. Can you agree?
100%. Are you kidding me? Right. Like if I was there tonight, I would literally go, first question, Mick Cronin. Like they come to me and I walk up to the microphone and I go, Coach Cronin, tough loss tonight. A great season though. Obviously we saw this team grow into a unit that you really could believe in. We saw Johnny take the big leap. But the real question that everyone at home is thinking, Coach Cronin, do you have a message for the haters? And then Coach Cronin, basically tries to fight me. Takes out his
one of the joys we lost out on the message to the haters this year by not being able to go to press conferences, not being able to go to games. Yeah. But one of the joys of Tate asking the message for the haters question is always the setup, because you never know where he's going. Because like I'm sitting next to you, and you tell me you're going to ask it, but then you're like, Coach, you guys were out rebounded in this game. And I'm like, damn it. He's not going to ask it. But then you still find a way. You still bring it back around like 2 minutes later.
No. I tricked Bill Self too. I got him really good with that. He was like, he's like, you're making good points. I like where you're headed. And then when I said haters, he said haters.
And then you just stick the land. In his mind, you like absolutely botched the landing. You're like, I like where this is headed. And then you're just like, do you have a message for the haters? Yeah. And he goes, what the hell? All right. Any other thoughts on the title game? I mean, I think we kind of hit everything that needs to be hit. This is the perfect scenario tonight that we needed to see. Baylor, I obviously you see the path now, and the path doesn't have to be A+, and Gonzaga, like, I think that's it. Is that's what we've learned, is that like if Gonzaga plays an A game, they can still lose to Baylor. They can play an A- game and still lose to Baylor. Meanwhile, Baylor does not have to play an A+ game. Like I didn't think they did, but I don't know if that's a good way of phrasing it. But like up until this point, I thought if Gonzaga brings their A game, no one's touching them. No one's touching them. And after tonight, Gonzaga could bring their A game. Baylor could play not their A game, and I'd still see a path in which Baylor could win. And that just makes me so excited, because that's what we want. That's all we want.
That's all we've been asking for this entire season. We've wanted to see Gonzaga tested. Shout out to UCLA for making them have their first test, and that was the primer. That was the PSAT.
We got a line according to Fox Bet. By the way, you ready for this? Lock in your guess. Can you see this? Did you get this note as well? I think we may have got texted this exact same note. Don't look.
I'm not looking.
Okay. Let's play a game called try to estimate what the spread will be.
Oh, estimate the spreads?
Estimate the spreads, yeah.
Okay, all right. Estimate the spreads. This is a fun game. Never played this before. Here we go. Estimate the spreads. Gonzaga, Baylor. I said 7.5. That feels pretty good to me. I'm going to bump up 1.5 points, so I'm going to say 6 points.
It is, according to our friends at Fox Bet, and by friends I mean colleagues, it is
Please be 3.
minus 4.5.
Oh.
That feels like I feel like
it's moving. It's moving. Did it open? Did it open at 4.5?
It is moving, and the line is moving too. Tate. The line is the only thing moving when I'm thinking about this game on Monday night. I'm
fired up. I mean, I will say this: like, this is the best that college basketball can offer. Like, if you have not watched college basketball all season, if you're just a casual fan, if you just watched this game tonight and you're like, man, that was a lot of fun. Let me just tell you, Monday night, saddle up, because there is going to be. Because I said this to you earlier when we were talking before we watched UCLA play Gonzaga. I said the only thing that scares me if you're Gonzaga about Baylor is that Baylor has more dog, right? Like Baylor is going to, like, Davion Mitchell is probably the face of what I'm talking about. A guy who will literally dive on the floor 15 times, a guy who will take a charge, a guy who literally will slap the floor, a guy who will clap in your face and say, let's go, as soon as you dribble it off your foot. They're not afraid of Gonzaga. And they think that they're supposed to win, right? Like Gonzaga is on a team of destiny run, and I think that they are the team of destiny. But you can't take away from Baylor, who was also on an undefeated trail this entire year before a COVID pause. They also think they're the team of destiny. They also thought that they should have won last year.
Well, that's what's so captivating about this. Beyond obviously the two best teams all year, Mark Few and Scott Drew seem to be best friends.
Yes.
Jared Butler and Corey Kispert seem to be like the best of that. Like that's how I have it in my mind. Cause we talked to them. We're like, who do you like on the other team? And they say each other.
They say each other and they respect each other's games and yada, yada, yada.
It disgusts me to my core because I want to, as a man who works in media, I want to pit these people against each other and make them hate each other. They do not. And I've joked all along that the reason they don't hate each other is because like, it's easy to not hate the other guy when you think you're going to beat the other guy. So if you and I were to play, say, Tate, and like going into the game, I'd be like, I love Tate. And the reason it's like if you asked Jordan how he felt about Charles Barkley, and he was always like, yeah, Chuck's a great friend of mine. And it's like, cause I don't feel it because I keep him under my thumb and I take him golfing and I put him in Space Jam and like that's all he needs. And and I know that I'll always have him under my thumb. That's how I feel. Both coaches are doing that to each other. Both of these players are doing that to each other. That's how I see it in my head. Does that make sense? Does that check out?
It does.
So that's why I'm excited about this because I think Corey Kispert believes I'm definitely going to beat Jared Butler. Jared Butler thinks I'm definitely going to beat Corey Kispert. And I got news for you, fellas.
Yeah,
you're not both going to win. Only one of you can win. And that's amazing. That's amazing.
And it does feel. I mean, that's why I bring up 2005. I mean, Illinois was the team of destiny. Carolina was the team of destiny. Roy was supposed to win. I mean, at that point, Bruce Weber thought he was supposed to win.
Yeah, for the Arizona Elite Eight game.
Exactly. And, we are the team. We had like kind of what Virginia did in 2019 when Diakite hits that shot. It's hard for you to be convinced that you're not the team of destiny, right? And Kyle Guy makes the free throws. Then you go against Texas Tech. It's hard for you not to think that DeAndre Hunter is going to hit that three to win that game, right? And it all leads to a point. And it is so one. I mean, to put it in simple terms, it's so effing cool that we're gonna have
good save there, by the way.
I mean, I want to say it full throttle. It's so mucking cool that we're gonna have this game on Monday night.
So Foxen, cool. Can we say Fox? Do a company play there?
Yeah, there you go. Love Fox, company man.
Cool.
Appreciate you guys for letting us go live right now. And I will say, just like the fact that we get to be here, we're gonna try to figure out if we're gonna go to the game or not. We'll see what happens there. Obviously,
if anybody's got tickets, float them our way.
Send them our way. If you're a Gonzaga fan and you want me to pull for Gonzaga, I literally can be swayed. If you're a Baylor fan, same thing to you.
No, it'd be the opposite. It'd be the opposite because we're the curse. If you're a Gonzaga fan, you want us to put on Baylor shirts and go cheer for Baylor to curse Baylor. Just let us know. We'll do that for you.
True.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. What else we got to say? Do we want to do like a vibe? Tell the people at home what the vibe is down here. Like we did a little vibe test, driving around a little bit, walking around. I walked around a little bit. It's weird. It still feels like the Final Four. Like the city. I joked that it feels like the city of Indianapolis like is so good at hosting this thing that they just they hit a button and just all of a sudden like bookcases, it's like a Scooby-Doo house where like the bookcase spins around and now the new thing on the wall, it just says Final Four, welcome to Indy, and it feels like the whole city hit the button, but the people just aren't here to all the stuff that spun around. The people aren't here to like participate in the events, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But there's still a decent number of people walking about. There's still like a vibe. Like if you came to Indy, you would know that the Final Four is definitely going on, obviously. But man, it sucks because can you imagine if like we had full arena? Can you imagine the buzz in the city leading up to Monday night if there were 100,000 people or whatever it would be that would be here? Because there'd be a lot of people that just be in town. They're like, I don't even know if I'm going to the game. Like, I mean, that's where we're at right now. I just want to be around it,
Yeah. You just want to be somewhere around it. And I will say the only thing that's going to be weird, I think that this Suggs shot is going to be the new Jenkins shot, which was the new Leitner shot, right? As far as the montages that lead into March Madness. Now Suggs will take that spot. And the only weird part about that is that when he runs over and stands on the table and is like, I did this.
Well, that's this.
You don't have the crowd. Like, you don't have that. It is a little bit static, but it's also awesome because like the crowd is the player. It's Corey Kispert. It's just,
I think I've
they're
come
going
around
insane.
I think I've changed I've completely flip-flopped because I thought all of the highlights that come out of this tournament, this Mickey Mouse tournament we've seen, I thought we were just going to scrap them. I thought in future montages, just get rid of them because we don't want to see coaches wearing masks and like, as you said, big shots and Eric Musselman's pointing to the crowd, but then they pan to the crowd. There's like 12 people there. And you're like, what's going on here? I thought scrap all of those highlights. I don't want to, because it's just going to be weird to watch them in 10, 15 years. Like, don't put them in montages and stuff. I changed my mind. I want all of them in there because I think the context is awesome. And I think in 15 years, when we look back on this, it is going to feel like a fever dream. The Jalen Suggs had a half court shot in like a quarter filled arena, football stadium. And Mick Cronin was on the sideline with a mask on his chin, and Hep Cronin was in the stands with with his nose popping out of his mask and picking his nose. And like
the best.
Just the whole scene is like, what, like, Grandpa, tell me about the 2021 title game, the Final Four. Like, well, how much time you got, kid? It was a wild scene back then. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything shout out to the 3-on-3 tournament going on. We're going to be hosting that again tomorrow on Twitter and everything. So watch us on there. They're letting Tate and I call a few games. So that's been pretty fun doing that the last couple of days. We always enjoy doing that event. So 3x3u is the event. You can search it on Twitter. You can find it. And they let us call some games, dude. I'm using the Telestrator.
It's been a lot of fun.
Here's my promise to the American people. I will draw a penis with the Telestrator tomorrow. I promise you that. If you watch me, I am going to find a way, because I got dangerously close today. I drew a circle. I drew like an arrow into the basket.
They saw it coming. Our producer in the air is like, Mark.
So I got a taste, and I was like, I think I can go full penis tomorrow. So that's what I'm going to try to do.
This is your American Vandal moment. Yeah, that's what everyone's been waiting for. Yeah,
who drew the dicks? I'm going for it. So check that out tomorrow. Also, I wanted to shout out the second best game that happened in the second best amateur basketball game that happened in the city of Indianapolis tonight. The 4A state champion Carmel Greyhounds took down the Lawrence North Wildcats. It was going on at the exact same time. Can you believe that? The Indiana State Championship was being played at the exact same time as Gonzaga UCLA.
In the Pacers Arena, right?
Yeah, and it went to overtime. Carmel won. Carmel is Josh McRoberts High School. They beat Greg Oden's high school and Mike Conley's high school. So there's that. And Ryan Osborne's the coach of Carmel. He's a friend of mine, has been for a million years, and he's awesome. And went to the same high school my dad went to. So
shout out McRoberts. We got to get Josh on the show. I'm a big fan of McBob. A lot of people think that I'm just a Duke hater 24/7, but I will say there are certain Duke guys like a Mike Dunleavy Jr., Josh McRoberts, that the way they play the game of basketball is something that I can get down with, and they know how to carry themselves. So shout out to McBob. We need to get him on the show. I did have one more shout out, Titus. Shout out to us, because we did a tour all around the entire, Indianapolis area. We went to Knightstown. We saw the Hoosier Gym. We went to Hinkle Fieldhouse. We saw everyone at Butler. They gave us the full tour. I turned into a partial Butler fan that day as I was dealing with my emotions of the fallout of Roy Williams leaving. And that video is coming out tomorrow. So if you want to see what Indiana looks like, watch it.
We went to the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, which you said is a better Hall of Fame than the Springfield, than the National Hall of Fame.
On the record.
Awesome. It is sick. Shout out to the people at the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Good people over there that were taking care of us, and they were happy to see us. They made us feel like stars. So that was cool.
And they're great people, and they're basketball people, and that's the difference between the one in Springfield and the one in Indiana. I like basketball people, Titus, and I like a basketball place and a basketball state. Yeah, no, not for me. I'm not a Stevens guy.
And shout out to all of you watching that have been joining us live after every round of this NCAA tournament. This has been, we'll be honest, when we sat down and talked about doing this, we thought this is kind of insane to do this. Like, will people care? Will people watch? The answer has been, no, I'm kidding. The answer has been yes. You guys have been awesome. It has been so fun to do these shows. Because it is more fun to go live, Tate, in these instances. Like the Jalen, imagine like we're doing like a podcast tomorrow morning when we slept on it. It's more fun that I bust down your door and I'm like, I got to get over to my computer so we can turn this thing on and talk to the people. So,
and let's be honest, Titus, this was not possible a few years ago when you and I were doing a podcast together. So we have to shout out our Fox team, our CVB on Fox team for making this possible, for taking care of us, for putting us, in a position to be able, like you said, to react to things right on time, to be, in a position to give our takes, to be here, to sit with you, to talk with you, to have conversation. And again, it's it is something that you and I love, and it's not an act. It's not something that I care to act about, honestly. And when you watch a game like you watched tonight, you get like a reinvigoration for why you care so much about the game of basketball, and especially college basketball itself. And that's why I just want to give a tip of the cap to Mick Cronin and the UCLA Bruins for making this a game, to Gonzaga, Mark Few, Drew Timme, Corey Kispert, and of course Jalen Suggs for making this a night
Johnny
that I'll never
Juzang,
forget.
Cody Riley.
Yeah, the list goes on, right? We can name every single guy in this
Tiger
game.
Campbell.
I mean, yeah, it's
the walk-ons at UCLA that they showed 1,000 times.
Dude, Hep Cronin's nose. An absolute great night, and I appreciate everyone who follows us and watches us and listens with us, and for all the people that reached out about the Roy Williams episode. Again, when I was recording that, I did not necessarily feel like that was a great show or anything, and in fact, I was a little upset that I was on the verge of tears for half of it. But all the kind words I see, I appreciate it. If I did not respond, I will try to respond. But again, I appreciate everyone following us and sticking with us. And you don't know how much it means to two small town kids like Titus and I.
Well said, Tate. Subscribe to YouTube to get the video Tate was talking about. We went all over the state of Indiana, had a lot of fun shooting that. Also, anytime we go live, you'll get a notification. We appreciate you guys for following, for sticking with us through all of this and joining us on these live shows we've been doing. And I guess there's nothing to do now, Tate, but count down the next 48 hours. We meet a Monday night. Can't wait.
The
championship game we've all been waiting for is happening. Woo! Let's go.
We'll see you live Monday night.